Well, my dearies, welcome back to another spine-chilling episode of Evil Exposed. Tonight, we're diving into the twisted tale of Pine Hollow, a quiet town with secrets darker than a moonless night. Our story starts at the old gas station on Route 9, where a string of disappearances sets off a chain of events that will keep you on the edge of your seat. So grab your blankets, make sure your doors are locked, and let's unravel the mystery of the last stop. Chapter 1. The Vanishing. The small, desolate town of Pine Hollow had one main attraction, the old gas station on Route 9. Nestled between towering pine trees and endless stretches of empty road, it stood as a lone sentinel for weary travelers. Its weathered facade, with peeling paint and a flickering neon sign that buzzed ominously, gave the gas station a haunting presence. The windows were cracked, and the once vibrant sign now barely lit up the word gas in a ghostly glow. Earl, the gas station's reclusive owner, was a man of few words and many secrets. He was a fixture in the town, his hunched figure often seen tending to the pumps or disappearing into the woods behind the station. With his grizzled beard, sunken eyes, and perpetually grease-stained overalls, Earl embodied the eerie atmosphere that clung to the gas station like a second skin. On a chilly autumn night, as the wind howled through the pines and the moon cast long, eerie shadows, a young woman named Jessica Parker stopped at the gas station. She was on her way to visit her family for the weekend, her car packed with luggage and a sense of urgency driving her forward. The station was eerily quiet, the only sound the rhythmic creaking of the rusty sign swaying in the wind. Jessica stepped out of her car, the cold air biting at her skin. She shivered and pulled her jacket tighter, glancing around the deserted station. The dim light from the neon sign cast distorted shadows, making the place seem even more unsettling. She hurried to the pump, fumbling with her wallet as she tried to ignore the creeping sense of dread that was slowly building within her. As she filled her tank, Jessica couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Her eyes darted nervously around the station, but she saw no one. Earl was nowhere to be seen, and the station felt lifeless, as if it were holding its breath. She quickly finished refueling and climbed back into her car, eager to leave the unsettling place behind. But as she turned the key in the ignition, the engine sputtered and died. Panic set in as she tried again with the same result. Frustrated and scared, Jessica got out of the car and looked around for help. That's when she noticed the faint light coming from the back of the gas station near the edge of the woods. Gathering her courage, Jessica walked towards the light. Her footsteps echoed in the stillness, each step amplifying her fear. As she approached, she saw Earl's hunched figure emerge from the shadows, his face obscured by the brim of his worn-out hat. "Car trouble?" Earl's voice was rough, like gravel crunching underfoot. "Yes, it won't start," Jessica replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Earl nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. "I can take a look. Might take a while, though." Jessica hesitated, every instinct telling her to leave, but she had no choice. "All right, thank you." As Earl disappeared into the garage to get his tools, Jessica's unease grew. The woods seemed to close in around her, the trees whispering secrets she couldn't understand. She glanced back at her car, wishing she had just kept driving. Minutes felt like hours, and finally, Earl returned. He worked on the car in silence, his presence as unsettling as the darkness that surrounded them. After what felt like an eternity, he straightened up and wiped his hands on his overalls. "Should be good to go now," he said, his eyes briefly meeting hers before darting away. Jessica muttered her thanks and hurried back to her car. She turned the key, relief flooding through her as the engine roared to life. Without a second glance, she sped out of the gas station, her heart pounding in her chest. But Jessica never made it to her destination. Her car was found abandoned by the side of the road the next morning, doors wide open, keys still in the ignition. There was no sign of Jessica, except for a smeared handprint on the steering wheel, a chilling reminder that something terrible had happened. The local police, led by Sheriff Tom Mitchell and his trusted deputy Riley, began their investigation. They interviewed Earl, who claimed he saw nothing unusual that night. Riley, always quick to cast suspicion, seemed convinced that Earl was hiding something. As more travelers disappeared over the next few weeks, the once quiet town was gripped by fear. One of the most disturbing cases involved a couple, Mark and Lisa Thompson, who were traveling back home after a weekend getaway. They stopped at the gas station for a quick refuel, but they never reached their destination. Their bodies were found in the woods a week later, tied to trees and mutilated. Mark's hands were severed, and Lisa's eyes were gouged out. The scene was a grotesque display of violence, with blood smeared across the tree trunks and the ground littered with broken branches and torn clothing. Another victim, Tom Harris, a truck driver passing through Pine Hollow, was discovered in the basement of an abandoned cabin. His throat was slit, and his body was covered in deep, jagged cuts. The walls of the basement were adorned with crude drawings of eyes and symbols, drawn in blood, creating a macabre gallery of horror. Sheriff Mitchell couldn't shake the feeling that the gas station held the key to the mystery, but without concrete evidence, he was at a loss. Pine Hollow, with its quiet streets and friendly faces, now hid a dark secret. The gas station on Route 9 stood as a grim reminder that even the most mundane places could harbor unimaginable horrors. And as the sun set each night, the flickering neon sign cast long shadows, a silent witness to the terror that lurked just out of sight. Well, that was a rough start for Jessica, stopping at that dodgy gas station. Now let's dive into the next chapter where Sheriff Mitchell starts to uncover the dark secrets lurking in Pine Hollow. Trust me, it only gets creepier from here. Chapter 2. The Dark Discovery. The small town of Pine Hollow was in a state of heightened anxiety. With multiple disappearances and no clear leads, Sheriff Tom Mitchell found himself at a dead end. His deputy Riley seemed eager to pin the crimes on Earl, the reclusive gas station owner. Earl's peculiar behavior and the gas station's eerie atmosphere made him an easy target for suspicion. Desperate for answers, Mitchell decided to keep a closer eye on the gas station. Late one night, he parked his patrol car a distance away, hidden in the shadows, and watched as Earl went about his nightly routine. The gas station, eerily illuminated by the flickering neon sign, seemed to hold its breath in the darkness. The trees surrounding the area swayed slightly, their branches whispering secrets to the wind. Around midnight, Mitchell noticed Earl behaving strangely. He emerged from the gas station, glancing around nervously before disappearing into the woods behind the building. "What the hell is he up to?" Riley muttered. The following day, Mitchell decided to investigate the woods. With a flashlight in hand, he ventured into the dense forest at dawn. The air was thick with tension, and the trees seemed to close in around him, their branches forming a claustrophobic canopy. The ground was uneven and covered in a thick layer of fallen leaves that crunched under his boots. After what felt like hours, he stumbled upon a hidden clearing. In the center was an old, abandoned shack, its windows boarded up and the door hanging off its hinges. The stench of decay hung in the air, making Mitchell's stomach churn. Inside the shack, Mitchell made a horrifying discovery. The walls were covered with photographs and personal belongings of the missing travelers. Bloodstains marked the floor, and in the corner a pile of clothes lay rotting. Among the debris, he found Jessica's necklace, confirming his worst fears. Earl was behind the disappearances, and he was using the gas station as his hunting ground. Mitchell quickly called Deputy Riley to share his findings. Riley arrived promptly, her face a mask of concern. They both agreed it was time to confront Earl and bring him to justice. As they walked back through the forest, the weight of what they had discovered pressed heavily on them. The quiet, desolate surroundings now felt ominous and threatening. That night, armed with the evidence they needed, Mitchell and Riley returned to the gas station, determined to confront Earl and put an end to his reign of terror. As they approached, they saw Earl closing up for the night. The flickering neon sign cast an eerie glow over the scene, and Mitchell felt a chill run down his spine. Mitchell called out, his voice steady but filled with resolve. "We need to talk." Earl turned slowly, his eyes narrowing as he saw the sheriff and the deputy. "What do you want, Tom?" "I know what you've been doing," Mitchell said, stepping closer. "I found the shack in the woods. It's over, Earl." Earl's expression twisted into a sinister grin. "You shouldn't have done that, Tom." Before Mitchell could react, Earl lunged at him with a knife. The two men struggled, their grunts and the sound of clashing metal echoing through the empty gas station. Mitchell fought with all his strength, intent on bringing Earl to justice. With a final, desperate effort, Mitchell managed to disarm Earl and knock him to the ground. He handcuffed the gas station owner, breathing heavily as the adrenaline coursed through his veins. As he looked down at Earl, he realized just how close he had come to becoming another victim. But as the police took Earl away, Mitchell couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. There was a nagging doubt in his mind, something that didn't quite add up. He decided to revisit the shack in the woods, hoping to find answers. As he searched the shack more thoroughly, he found a hidden trapdoor beneath a rug. Opening it, he discovered a cellar filled with more gruesome evidence. But what truly shocked him was a collection of journals meticulously documenting the murders. The handwriting didn't match Earl's. It was neater, more precise. It belonged to someone else. Suddenly, Mitchell heard a noise behind him. He turned to see Deputy Riley, standing in the doorway with a sinister smile. "Well, Tom, I didn't think you'd figure it out," Riley said, stepping closer. "Earl was just the perfect scapegoat. I never thought you'd look beyond him." Mitchell's blood ran cold as he realized the truth. Riley had been the true killer all along, using her position to cover up her tracks and frame Earl. "You're sick, Riley," Mitchell said, his voice shaking with anger. "Why?" Riley shrugged. "Why not? People come and go, no one notices. It was easy and I enjoyed it." As Riley advanced, Mitchell knew he had to act quickly. With a swift movement, he grabbed a metal pipe and swung it at Riley, knocking her to the ground. A fierce struggle ensued, but Mitchell's resolve prevailed. He managed to subdue Riley and handcuff her, bringing the real killer to justice. As Riley was taken away, the town of Pine Hollow could finally begin to heal. The gas station, now free of its sinister shadow, stood as a reminder of the darkness that had once lurked there. Sheriff Mitchell, though hailed as a hero, knew that the scars of the past would remain, a testament to the true horrors hidden in the most unexpected places. Sheriff Mitchell finding those journals. I've seen less disturbing things in a butcher's bin. Now brace yourselves for the next chapter. It's only getting darker from here. Chapter 3. The Final Revelation. With Deputy Riley in custody, the town of Pine Hollow began to breathe a collective sigh of relief. The horrifying truth had been revealed. Riley had been using her position to cover up her crimes, framing Earl while he continued his killing spree. The gas station, now free of its sinister shadow, stood as a grim reminder of the darkness that had once lurked there. Sheriff Tom Mitchell, though hailed as a hero, couldn't shake the feeling that the nightmare was far from over. The image of Riley's sinister smile and the meticulous journals haunted his thoughts. As the days passed, Mitchell became increasingly uneasy, plagued by a nagging sense that there were still unanswered questions. One evening, while sorting through the evidence collected from Riley's shack, Mitchell found an envelope addressed to him. The handwriting was neat and precise, matching the journals found in the cellar. With a sinking feeling, he opened it and discovered a series of photographs. Each image was of a different location in Pine Hollow, all taken at night. The last photograph was the most disturbing. It showed the interior of Mitchell's own home, the photograph taken from the shadows. On the back of the final photograph, a message was scrawled. "You found me, but there are more. You're not safe, Tom." The blood drained from Mitchell's face as he realized the full extent of the threat. He had caught Riley, but the message suggested there were accomplices, still at large and perhaps even more dangerous. The thought of someone lurking in the shadows of his own home made his skin crawl. Determined to uncover the truth, Mitchell decided to delve deeper into Riley's past. He pored over old case files, looking for any connections or patterns that might reveal the identities of the other accomplices. The more he uncovered, the darker the picture became. Riley had been part of a twisted network, a group of individuals who reveled in chaos and death. Late one night, as Mitchell sat in his dimly lit office, a knock on the door startled him. He opened it to find a young woman, her face pale and eyes wide with fear. She introduced herself as Emily, a former resident of Pine Hollow who had fled the town years ago. Emily revealed that she had been in hiding, terrified of the group Riley was involved with. She had heard about Riley's arrest and had returned to warn Mitchell. "They're still out there," Emily said, her voice trembling. "They won't stop until they've silenced anyone who knows about them. You're in danger, Sheriff." Before Mitchell could respond, the lights in his office flickered and went out. The room was plunged into darkness, and the air grew thick with tension. The only sound was Emily's ragged breathing and the distant hum of the building's generator. Suddenly, the door to the office burst open and a shadowy figure lunged at Mitchell. In the ensuing struggle, Mitchell managed to subdue the attacker, but not before the figure whispered a chilling warning: "You'll never stop us." As the police arrived and took the attacker into custody, Mitchell realized the magnitude of the threat he was facing. Riley's network was vast, and their reach extended far beyond Pine Hollow. The photographs, The message and the attack were clear signs that they would stop at nothing to protect their secrets. The next morning, Mitchell stood in the clearing near Riley's shack, contemplating the hidden darkness that still threatened his town. He knew that the fight was far from over, and that he had to uncover the truth to protect Pine Hollow. As he stared at the shadowy forest, Mitchell's phone buzzed with a new message. It was a photograph of his office taken just moments ago. His heart raced as he read the accompanying text. "We're closer than you think." Well, that ending was a bloody mess, wasn't it? Makes my ex-husband's drama look like a kid's puppet show. Thanks for sticking around, my dearies. If you enjoyed this twisted tale, make sure to like and subscribe to Evil Exposed for more spine-chilling stories. Cheers!